Hey guys, tonight we journey far, far back in time to an age of ice and stone. You are a hunter, a traveler, alone in the vast, silent Alps over 5,000 years ago. Feel the bite of the autumn wind on your face and the solid weight of the copper axe on your shoulder. The air is thin and tastes of pine and coming snow. Below you, the world of green valleys is fading. And ahead lies the great, stony pass, your final crossing before the world freezes over. But the sky is turning a bruised, ominous grey. And let's be honest, in this world, without a map or a compass, one wrong step, one early blizzard, and you will simply vanish, your story swallowed by the ice. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy what I do here. As always, I'd love to see where in the world you're listening from, so please drop your city and local time in the comments below. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The air in this lower valley still holds the ghost of summer. The sun, a pale, watery disk in the sky, lends a final, fragile warmth to the pines. But you know it is a lie. The scent of decay is on the wind, the sweet, earthy smell of dying leaves and damp soil. The long sleep is coming, and you have lingered here a day too long. Your journey's purpose is simple: to cross the great mountain pass before it is sealed by the first snows, and return to your own settlement in the warmer southern valley. You have finished your trade. You have seen your kinsmen. Now, you must go home. Your movements are slow and deliberate, driven by an ancient, practical knowledge. You are not just walking, you are reading the world around you. You find them near the base of an old birch tree, a cluster of wrinkled, dark red berries overlooked by the birds. A gift. You eat a handful, the sharp, tart juice, a welcome shock against your tongue, and carefully pack the rest into a small leather pouch. They will be your only sweetness in the cold days to come. You kneel by a stream, its water already shockingly cold, and drink deeply. This is the last easy water you will have. Higher up, the streams will be frozen, and you will have to spend precious energy melting snow to quench your thirst. Before you begin the true ascent, you stop to perform the final vital rituals of preparation. You sit on a moss-covered rock and unroll your pack. You check each of your companions, your tools. Your flint knife is secure in its sheath, its edge keen. The yew stave for your unfinished bow is straight and true. Your precious copper axe, its metal head gleaming with a dull reddish light, is firmly seated in its wooden haft. It feels heavy and powerful in your hand, a piece of the new world's magic. Last, and most important, you open the birch bark pouch with the reverence of a priest. Inside, nestled in dry moss and maple leaves, is a single, glowing red eye, the ember from your kinsman's fire. You gently feed it a small piece of dried fungus you carry for this purpose. It brightens for a moment, a silent promise of warmth, of cooked meat, of life. This is the seed of civilization, and you guard it with your life. You carefully repack your belongings, shouldering your pack and your bow, the weight a familiar comfort. The tasks are done. You look up, past the thinning trees, to the grey, jagged teeth of the high pass, silhouetted against the afternoon sky. The wind that whispers down from those peaks carries a different message now, a clean, cold warning. The mountain is waiting, and it is not a patient host. It is time to go. The path steepens, the air thins, and each breath is a conscious effort, a cold pull against your lungs. You leave the familiar world of the forest behind, climbing higher into the realm of rock and sky. You pass the last of the trees. They are old, twisted things, their branches permanently bent by the wind, like old men bowing in one direction. They are the final sentinels. Beyond them lies a stark, beautiful, and unforgiving world with nowhere to hide. Up here, the silence is profound. The marmots, whose sharp whistles usually echo across these slopes, are deep in their winter burrows. The nimble ibex have retreated to the lower crags. The mountain is holding its breath. You know this silence. It is not peace. It is a warning, louder than any roar. Your eyes, trained by a lifetime of observation, are constantly scanning the horizon. In the south, the clouds are not the soft, puffy shapes of summer. They are long, white feathers painted across the high, thin-air mares' tails, the outriders of a great storm. A sickly, yellow-grey haze is beginning to stain the edges of the sky. An elder in your village once told you that such a sky is a serpent coiling to strike. The wind has a different voice up here. It is no longer the gentle breath of the valley. It snakes through the cracks in the rocks with a low, mournful whisper. It is a lonely sound, the only sound. It carries a new scent, clean and sharp, the smell of a world about to be scrubbed clean by ice. You can taste the coming snow on the back of your tongue. Every sign confirms your fear. You have misjudged the season. You have waited a day too long. The race to cross the pass before the first storm is a race you are about to lose. Your pace quickens, your heart a steady, heavy drum against your ribs. It is no longer a journey. It is a flight. The sun, a weak, watery eye in the grey sky, begins to sink behind the western peaks. A single, perfect snowflake lands on the back of your deerskin glove. It is a star of impossible design. It does not melt. Then another lands, and another. The whispering wind has delivered its final, clear message. The time for running is over. Now, there is only the search for shelter. There is only survival. Panic is a useless luxury, a fire that consumes your strength and gives no warmth. The mountain does not care for your fear. It cares only for what you do. The first snowflakes are a quiet promise of the violence to come. Your journey forward is over. Your journey to survive the night has just begun. Your eyes scan the landscape, not for a path, but for a sanctuary. You dismiss the open ground, the exposed ridges. You need rock. You need the mountain's own strength to shield you. You find it 100 paces away, a deep, scoop-shaped overhang, a shallow cave carved into the cliffside by millennia of wind and ice. It is not perfect, but it will have to do. You do not rest. Every moment of fading light is a gift you cannot afford to waste. You drop your pack and begin to work. Your hands, already numb with the biting cold, protest as you pry loose flat stones from the frozen ground. You haul them, one by one, to the mouth of the shelter. The work is a comfort, a focused, physical act that pushes back the rising fear. Each stone you place is an act of defiance, a small piece of order built against the coming chaos. You are building a home that will last for a single, long night. With the low wall half built, you turn your attention to fuel. The trees are far below you, but you know where to look. You find the gnarled, twisted roots of a dwarf juniper clinging to the rock face, and you use your copper axe to hack away the driest sections. You gather handfuls of tough, alpine grass, its stalks stiff and dry from the frost. It is a meager collection, but it will be enough to keep an ember alive. Back inside your small fortress, you prepare a fire pit, arranging the precious fuel with practiced care. Before the darkness and the storm consume everything, you allow yourself one final, vital ritual. You prepare a meal. You use your axe to chip shards of ice from a frozen pool, melting them in the small pot you carry. Into the water, you place the last of your dried meat and the handful of berries you gathered in the valley. You eat slowly, methodically, feeling the warm broth chase the cold from your belly. This is more than a meal. It is fuel. It is a prayer to your own body, asking it for the strength to survive what is to come. As you finish, the world outside has vanished. The snow is falling thick and fast now. You retreat behind your stone wall, into the deepest part of the overhang. The fire is built, ready for the spark. The last of the food is eaten. You have done all that a man can do. Outside, the whispering wind begins to howl, a hungry animal testing the walls of your tiny fortress. You pull your furs tight, and you wait. The storm has no sense of time. Hours bleed into one another in a constant, roaring twilight. The cold is no longer just an absence of warmth. It is a presence, a heavy, patient predator that has slipped past your stone wall and is now wrapping itself around you, seeping through the seams of your fur clothing. It numbs your thoughts, slows your blood. You know its name. It is the slow death, the one that comes when you simply give in and fall asleep. You know you must fight back. Your only weapon is fire. Your movements are slow and deliberate. Your fingers clumsy clubs in the biting chill. You clear a small, flat area in the center of your shelter, away from the wind that still finds its way through the cracks. You lay down a flat piece of slate you found earlier to serve as a hearth. From a dry pouch, you take your most precious tinder, the shredded, feathery bark of a birch tree, and a handful of dried moss. You arrange it carefully on the stone, a small, hopeful nest. Now comes the moment of truth. You open your birch bark ember pouch with hands that tremble, not just from the cold, but from the weight of this single act. Has the storm smothered it? Has the damp air stolen its life? You peel back the last protective maple leaf, and you see it. Faint, so faint you almost miss it, but it is there. A single, winking red eye in the darkness. A tiny, stubborn heart, still beating. You carefully tip the ember from the leaf into the center of the tinder nest. You cup your hands around it, creating a small, dark world to protect it from the drafts. You lower your head and blow. It is not a forceful breath, but a slow, gentle, and steady stream of air, a prayer made of warmth and life. A thin curl of sweet-smelling smoke rises, a ghost in the darkness. You blow again. The red eye brightens, grows from a pinprick to the size of a berry. The smoke thickens. And then, a flicker. A tiny yellow tongue of light, no bigger than your thumbnail, tastes the air. It wavers, threatens to die, but then holds. It lives. You feed it with the patience of a mother nursing a newborn. A single sliver of bark, a sprig of moss. You watch it grow, nurturing it from a fragile flicker into a small, confident flame. Only then do you dare to add the larger twigs. And finally, a piece of the precious juniper root you gathered. You huddle close, extending your frozen hands to the small, growing fire. The flame pushes back the suffocating darkness, painting the rock walls of your shelter with dancing, golden light. It pushes back the killing cold, a shield of warmth against the storm. The great blizzard still roars outside, a world-ending fury, an indifferent god of ice and wind. It does not know that in this small hole in the mountain, a man has answered its roar with a single defiant spark. The storm has no sense of time. Hours bleed into one another in a constant, roaring twilight. The cold is no longer just an absence of warmth. It is a presence, a heavy, patient predator that has slipped past your stone wall and is now wrapping itself around you, seeping through the seams of your fur clothing. It numbs your thoughts, slows your blood. You know its name. It is the slow death, the one that comes when you simply give in and fall asleep. You know you must fight back. Your only weapon is fire. Your movements are slow and deliberate, your fingers clumsy clubs in the biting chill. You clear a small, flat area in the center of your shelter, away from the wind that still finds its way through the cracks. You lay down a flat piece of slate you found earlier to serve as a hearth. From a dry pouch, you take your most precious tinder, the shredded, feathery bark of a birch tree and a handful of dried moss. You arrange it carefully on the stone, a small, hopeful nest. Now comes the moment of truth. You open your birch bark ember pouch with hands that tremble not just from the cold, but from the weight of this single act. Has the storm smothered it? Has the damp air stolen its life? You peel back the last protective maple leaf, and you see it. Faint, so faint you almost miss it, but it is there. A single, winking red eye in the darkness. A tiny, stubborn heart, still beating. You carefully tip the ember from the leaf into the center of the tinder nest. You cup your hands around it, creating a small, dark world to protect it from the drafts. You lower your head and blow. It is not a forceful breath, but a slow, gentle, and steady stream of air, a prayer made of warmth and life. A thin curl of sweet-smelling smoke rises, a ghost in the darkness. You blow again. The red eye brightens, grows from a pinprick to the size of a berry. The smoke thickens, and then, a flicker, a tiny yellow tongue of light, no bigger than your thumbnail, tastes the air. It wavers, threatens to die, but then holds. It lives. You feed it with the patience of a mother nursing a newborn. A single sliver of bark, a sprig of moss. You watch it grow, nurturing it from a fragile flicker into a small, confident flame. Only then do you dare to add the larger twigs and finally, a piece of the precious juniper root you gathered. You huddle close, extending your frozen hands to the small, growing fire. The flame pushes back the suffocating darkness, painting the rock walls of your shelter with dancing, golden light. It pushes back the killing cold, a shield of warmth against the storm. The great blizzard still roars outside, a world-ending fury, an indifferent god of ice and wind. It does not know that in this small hole in the mountain, a man has answered its roar with a single, defiant spark. You do not know how long you have been here. 1 day? 3? The sun has vanished from the world, and with it, the rhythm of time. Your new clock is the steady consumption of your firewood. Your new calendar is the growing ache of hunger in your belly. The storm does not end. It has simply become the world. The roaring has subsided into a constant, mournful howl, the sound of a great beast circling your shelter. The initial terror of the whiteout has passed, replaced by a more dangerous and subtle enemy, the great, empty silence. You know that to let your mind drift in this emptiness is to invite madness, and so you fight the silence with small, important tasks. You unpack your birch bark baskets, laying out your entire world on a piece of hide. You take inventory. Each item is a small anchor to reality. You count your arrows. 12. Not enough for a long hunt. You count your dried berries. A small handful, a bitter feast for the days to come. You examine the yew-stave of your unfinished bow, running your hands over the smooth, cold wood, a reminder of a hope that now seems a world away. This becomes your routine, your ritual of survival. You tend the fire with meticulous care, adding a single precious piece of juniper root only when the flames burn low. You use your flint knife to sharpen a stick to a fine point for no reason other than to keep your hands busy. You test the leather bindings of your copper axe. These are acts of faith, a quiet insistence that these tools will be needed again in a world with a Sunday. In the deepest quiet, between the gusts of wind, your mind begins to wander. You see faces in the dancing flames, the face of your father, his hands showing you how to read the secrets in a broken twig, the face of your child, laughing in the long grass of a summer meadow. They are ghosts of a warm world, a world you are no longer a part of. You must force them away. To remember too much is to invite despair, and despair is a cold that no fire can warm. You bank the fire for a period of rest, the embers glowing softly. You have checked your tools. You have counted your supplies. You have performed the small rituals that keep you anchored to the world of the living. You understand now that this is the true hunt. You are not stalking a beast through the forest. You are stalking the encroaching madness in your own heart, and you hunt it with the quiet, steady, and relentless weapon of routine. You chew the last strip of dried ibex meat slowly, making it last an eternity. Each tough, salty fiber is a memory of a summer hunt, a memory of life. You eat the last wrinkled berry, its sweetness, a faint, fleeting ghost on your tongue. You run your finger along the inside of the empty leather pouch, finding nothing but dust. And then, there is nothing. The winter has truly begun. The routine that kept your mind sharp now becomes a desperate strategy to save your body. Every movement is a calculated expense of energy you do not have. You spend long, timeless periods in absolute stillness, huddled as close to the fire as you dare, your knees tucked to your chest. Your world, once a vast mountain range, has shrunk to the small circle of warmth cast by your fire. Hunger is not an absence. It is a presence. It is a cold, hard knot deep in your belly that tightens with every passing hour. It is a weakness that turns your muscles to water, making the simple act of adding a root to the fire a monumental effort. It is a fog that clouds your thoughts, making it difficult to hold on to a single idea. The fire warms your skin, but the hunger makes you cold from the inside out. Your mind, once your greatest tool for reading the world, becomes a traitor. It taunts you with visions. You see, with perfect clarity, the image of a fat marmot roasting on a spit, its juices dripping and hissing into the flames. You can almost smell the rich scent of baking bread from your home village. You try to think of your tools, of your plan to escape, but every thought is a winding path that leads back to the single, howling emptiness of your stomach. You drift in and out of a light, restless sleep, your dreams filled with impossible feasts. A change in the sound outside rouses you. The constant, high-pitched shriek of the wind has lessened, dropping to a low, mournful moan. You crawl to the entrance of your shelter. The snow is still being driven by the wind, but through the swirling white, you can perceive a faint grey light. The storm is weakening. The thought should bring you hope, but instead, it brings a new kind of dread. The world outside may soon be ready for you to travel again, but you know, with a chilling certainty, that you are not ready for it. You are a fire burning low, a body that has begun to consume itself. You are locked in a silent race. Will the path forward reveal itself before the fire inside you goes out for good? The roaring has stopped. The silence it leaves behind is immense, profound, and absolute. You crawl to the entrance of your shelter and look out upon a new world, a world sculpted and scoured by the storm's fury. It is a place of impossible beauty and perfect desolation. The sun is a distant, cold coin in the sky, and its light on the endless, untrodden snow is blinding. The break in the weather is a chance, perhaps your only chance. Your snares may catch a small hare if you are lucky, but it will not be enough to restore your strength. You need a real hunt. You need a bow. You retrieve the long, smooth stave of yew wood from your pack. It is your great hope, a project you have carried with you, waiting for the right moment. You take out your trusted flint knife. In the profound stillness of the mountain, the rhythmic scrape, scrape, scrape of the sharp flint against the wood is the only sound, a small, purposeful noise in the great emptiness. Your movements are slow, weakened by hunger, but your hands have not forgotten the ancient art. Shaving by careful shaving, you shape the belly and back of the bow, following the grain, feeling the life in the wood. This is the work of a man, imposing his will upon a piece of nature, bending it to a purpose. For a few hours you are not a victim, you are a craftsman. You pour the last of your focus, the last of your energy, into this single, vital task. Finally, the shape is right. The limbs are balanced. It is a good bow, a strong bow. Now for the final test. You place one end of the stave on the hard-packed snow and, using your body's weight, you gently, carefully, begin to flex the wood to test its strength. And then you hear it. It is not a loud crack, but a small, sickening tick, a sound that goes straight to the pit of your stomach. You freeze, your blood running cold. You inspect the wood, your eyes tracing the grain. There at island, a tiny hairline fracture near the center of the stave. A fatal, invisible flaw, awakened by the deep, invasive cold that has made the wood brittle and unforgiving. You try to flex it again, just slightly, praying it was a trick of the ear. The tick becomes a soft creak, and the fracture lengthens. The bow is dead. You hold the two halves of your broken hope in your hands. There is no anger. There is no strength left for anger. There is only a vast, hollow coldness inside you that matches the world outside. Your greatest skill, your most advanced plan for survival, has been defeated by an enemy you cannot see or fight. The mountain has reminded you, in its quiet final way, that you are not its master. You are its prisoner, and your best weapon has just shattered in your hands. The hope of the bow lies in two useless pieces of wood back in your shelter. Anger and despair are luxuries you cannot afford. There is only the cold, the hunger, and what must be done next. The storm has passed, and the silence it has left behind is immense and absolute. You must venture out. You must find food. You step out of your shelter into a world reborn in white. The landscape has been erased, its familiar lines and edges softened into immense, graceful curves of sun-dazzled snow. The silence is a physical pressure against your eardrums. For a moment, you allow yourself to believe you are the only living thing in this silent, sleeping world. You make your way toward a small ridge where, days ago, before the storm, you set a few simple snares. It is a foolish hope, but it is the only one you have. Your steps are heavy, each one a conscious effort, your body a cold, aching machine. It is halfway to the ridge that you see it, a line of deep impressions in the snow, a dark, rhythmic wound in the perfect white skin of the mountain. They are not the delicate prints of a fox, nor the heavy, clawed tread of a bear. You kneel, your breath catching in your chest, a plume of white vapor in the frigid air. It is the unmistakable track of a human foot, wrapped in hide and grass for insulation. Just like your own, your hunter's mind takes over, overriding the shock. You read the tracks like the page of a book. One person, moving slowly, their gait heavy with exhaustion. The prints are fresh, their edges still sharp and clear. They were made after the wind stopped, perhaps only an hour ago. He or she is close, and they are heading south, over the pass. They are walking your path. A flicker of warmth, of hope for a shared fire and human company, dies as quickly as it is born. An ally would have sought you out, would have called out. This silence, this hidden passage, feels different. In a world of absolute scarcity, another person is not a promise of help. They are a rival, a competitor for the one snow hare you might find, the one dry cave that offers shelter. You rise slowly, your hand resting on the handle of your copper axe. The vast, empty snowfields are not empty anymore. The silence is no longer peaceful. It is watchful. Every rock, every drift of snow could be a hiding place. You look from the tracks leading away into the distance, then back towards your small, hidden shelter. For days, your struggle has been a simple one, against the honest brutality of the mountain. It was a battle of warmth against cold, of endurance against the storm. But now, the rules have changed. The mountain was an enemy you understood. A man. A man is a stalking shadow you can never be sure of. The discovery of the tracks has changed the nature of your journey. You are no longer just a man against the mountain. You are a man against a shadow. You move with a new, heightened awareness. Your eyes scanning not just the landscape for food, but the ridges and rockfalls for any sign of the other hunter. The profound silence of the snow is no longer empty. It is filled with a tense, watchful waiting. You continue towards the small ridge where you set your snares, a futile hope you had almost forgotten. You expect to find them empty, buried and lost under the immense weight of the snow. You find the first two just as you imagined. The cords slack, the branches broken. There is nothing, but the third snare, tucked deep under the low, snow-dusted branches of a hardy juniper bush, is different. The cord is pulled taut. Your breath catches, a sharp white plume in the frigid air. You drop to your knees and dig through the soft powder with your bare hands, the cold forgotten. And then you find it, a snow hare, its winter coat a brilliant, almost invisible white against the snow, its life already frozen by the cold and the snare's quiet embrace. You hold it in your hands. It is a small thing, its body still soft, but in this world, at this moment, it is a treasure beyond measure, a gift from the mountain. You whisper a quiet word of thanks to the spirit of the hare, the ancient ritual, a deep and comforting habit. Carrying your prize, you make your way back to your shelter, moving with a caution that borders on paranoia, constantly stopping to scan the empty horizon behind you. Inside your small stone fortress, you begin the reverent, methodical work of the butcher. Your flint knife, a simple tool, becomes an instrument of life. You skin the animal with practiced skill, wasting nothing. The pelt will be used to line your boots, the sinew to mend your gear. You prepare the meat and, using your copper axe, you chop some of the creature's frozen fat to render over the fire. You cook a small piece of the meat on a sharpened stick. The smell of it roasting, the rich, savory scent of fat and protein, fills your small shelter and is the most beautiful perfume you have ever known. When it is done, you take the first bite. The taste of the hot, rich meat is an explosion of life in your mouth. It is warmth. It is strength. It is blood and fat and survival. It is a communion with the world you have fought so hard against. For the first time, in what feels like an eternity, you are not just enduring, you are living. The fire burns, and the gnawing cold in your belly has been replaced by a quiet, spreading warmth. Your body, once a failing machine on the edge of shutting down, feels alive again. This small victory, this taste of blood, has reignited the will to fight. But you know you are not the only hungry man in this white wilderness. The meal has renewed your hope, but it has also made you a target. You have something to live for again, which means you have everything to lose. The meal has given you strength, but it has also made you a target. The smell of your cook fire, a faint wisp of smoke, is an undeniable signal of life in this dead world. You know you cannot stay in your shelter. You are being hunted. You pack your meager gear, the new weight of the hare's pelt a small comfort, and step back out into the vast, white wilderness. This time, you are not just a traveler, you are prey. You move through a narrow pass between two great, sculpted drifts of snow, your eyes constantly scanning the ridges above. You are halfway through when you hear it, a sharp whiz that slices the air past your ear, followed by a soft thwack as an arrow buries itself, quivering, in the packed snow of the drift beside you. You throw yourself behind a rock outcropping, your heart hammering against your ribs. Your hand instinctively goes to the smooth, cold handle of your copper axe. The hunter has found you. You peer around the edge of the rock. He stands 50 paces away, a gaunt, desperate figure silhouetted against the snow, already fitting another arrow to his bow. There is no time for thought, only for survival. You rise and charge, roaring a challenge, your axe held high. You must close the distance. Your only hope is to turn his ranged weapon into a liability. He fires again, but your charge makes you a difficult target. The arrow flies wide. He drops his bow and draws a knife, a crude thing of sharpened flint. This will not be a battle of skill. It will be a clumsy, rabid dogfight in the deep snow. You crash into each other, a tangle of furs and desperate limbs. He is as weakened by hunger as you are, but his eyes burn with a predator's fire. You bring your axe up not to strike, but to block, its heavy handle absorbing the blow from his knife. You grapple, your feet sinking in the snow, every movement a slow, exhausting effort. In the frantic struggle, you feel a searing, white-hot pain in your left shoulder. You cry out, stumbling back. You look down and see the dark, feathered shaft of an arrow protruding from the thick hide of your tunic. He must have had a second, smaller bow, or perhaps it was an arrow he held in his hand and used as a dagger. The shock of the wound, the sudden, brilliant pain, sends a surge of pure adrenaline through you. With a final, desperate roar, you swing your heavy copper axe. You do not aim for his head, but for his weapon. The metal blade connects with his flint knife, shattering the stone point into a dozen useless fragments. He stares at his now useless handle, his eyes wide with shock. Disarmed and terrified, he turns and flees, stumbling away into the snow, a fading shape in the vast emptiness. You are alone, panting, the silence of the mountain rushing back in. A wave of dizziness washes over you. On the ground, forgotten in his haste, lies his bow and the quiver he dropped. You lean against the rock, the world swimming before your eyes. You touch the arrow in your shoulder, your fingers coming away slick and warm with your own blood. You have won. You have survived. But the price of your survival is this deep, burning wound. The wilderness was a clean, honest enemy. You are not sure you can say the same for yourself. And as the cold begins to seep into your wounded body, you know that the race against the mountain has just become infinitely harder. The adrenaline that fueled your fight vanishes, leaving in its wake a deep, shocking cold and the searing, brilliant pain in your shoulder. You look at the arrow shaft protruding from your flesh, a dark, alien branch grafted onto your body. The world swims in a red-tinged haze. There is no time for careful thought, for hesitation. The arrow must come out. You brace your feet in the deep snow, take the feathered shaft in your right hand, and grit your teeth until your jaw aches. With a single, brutal, tearing motion, you pull it free. A wave of blackness and fire washes over you, and you cry out, the sound swallowed by the immense silence of the mountain. You nearly fall, but you stay on your feet. From your medicine pouch, You pull a wad of dried moss and the precious antibiotic fungus. You pack it hard against the bleeding wound, a crude plug against the tide of your own life leaving you. The pain is a living thing, a fire that consumes your thoughts. You know you have a choice. You could crawl back to your small shelter, lie by the fire, wait for the wound to heal or, more likely, to fester. Wait for the hunger to return. Wait for death to come for you in your sleep. Or you can walk. You can take the pain with you, make it your grim companion, and use this last, violent surge of energy to move. It is not a choice. It is a command from some deep, stubborn part of your soul that refuses to be broken. You will not die here. You gather the spoils of your victory, the other hunter's bow and his quiver. The very tools that could save you are now an ironic, heavy burden on your wounded body. You shoulder your pack, the movement sending a fresh wave of agony through you, and you begin to walk, turning your face south. Every step is a negotiation with pain. The deep snow, which was once just an obstacle, is now a greedy, clutching enemy, pulling at your legs, trying to drag you down. Your left arm is a useless, throbbing weight. The world is a blur of brilliant white snow and the red haze of your own suffering. You are no longer a man walking. You are a wound, dragging itself across the face of the mountain. You measure your progress not in distance, but in endurance. From this rock to that ridge. You fall, you get up. You fall again, you get up again. The hunter's instinct that has guided you is gone, replaced by a single, burning thought: forward. You collapse into a shallow snowdrift as the afternoon light begins to fade, too exhausted to build a proper shelter. The cold seeps into you, a welcome numbness against the fire in your shoulder. Your body has given everything. It is a broken, bleeding machine. But deep inside, beneath the pain and the exhaustion, a small, hard ember of defiance still glows. The mountain has taken your strength, but it has not yet taken your will. You awaken not to the sharp bite of cold, but to a new, more sinister enemy, a radiating, internal heat. The fire in your shoulder is no longer a clean burn of torn muscle. It is a hot, swampy, and poisonous throbbing. A fever is taking root in your blood, a venom more potent than any the mountain can throw at you. You have survived the hunter. You have survived the storm. Now you must survive your own body. You know you cannot travel. To move now would be to feed the fire of the infection until it consumes you. With the last of your reserves, you crawl from your snowdrift and find a slightly better shelter, a deep crevice between two massive boulders, a place almost like a tomb. You build a small, desperate fire. You are no longer a traveler, you are a patient. Your hands tremble as you open your small leather medicine pouch. This is a different kind of survival kit, not of flint and axe, but of bark, fungus, and leaf, the deep knowledge passed down through generations. You find what you are looking for, a flat, woody piece of birch fungus, which the elders always said fights the rot in a wound. You also find a strip of dried willow bark. Your movements are slow, a deliberate ritual against the rising tide of fever. You melt snow in your small pot over the fire. You crumble the fungus into the warm water, creating a dark, earthy-smelling poultice. You carefully remove the crude dressing from your shoulder. The wound is angry, red, and swollen. You clean it as best you can and apply the cooling paste, the ancient medicine of the forest. Then, you take a piece of the willow bark and place it in your mouth, chewing it slowly. The taste is intensely bitter, but you know its power. It is the remedy for fever, for pain. As the medicine begins its slow work, you drift into a sea of heat and shadow. The world becomes a swirl of memory. You see the kind, wrinkled face of the old woman from your village, the one who taught you the names of the herbs. The willow eases a fevered mind. Her voice whispers in your memory. The fungus drives out the bad spirits in a wound. You see your own mother, placing a cool, wet cloth on your forehead when you were a boy, sick with a winter chill. You are not alone in this fight. The wisdom of your ancestors is with you. You sleep for a timeless period, tossing in a delirium of fragmented dreams. You wake to the cold, but it is a clean, honest cold now. The fever has broken, washed away in a torrent of sweat that has soaked your furs. The terrible, radiating heat in your shoulder has subsided to a dull, manageable ache. You touch the wound. The swelling has gone down. You have done it. The delirium has passed. You have fought the invisible serpent of infection and won. Lying in the stillness of your rock shelter, you realize a profound truth. You are not just a hunter who can read the tracks in the snow. You are a healer who can read the signs of the body. You have tended to your own wound. You have driven back death. And in the vast, silent emptiness of the mountains, you know, for the first time, the true depth of your own strength. The fever has left you, but it has taken the last of your strength with it. You are a hollow vessel, scoured clean by sickness and hunger. Your mind is clear, but your body is a weak and trembling thing. You know with absolute certainty that your victory over the infection will be meaningless if you cannot find food. Your snares are empty. The mountain will not give you another gift. You must take one for yourself. You look at the two pieces of your broken hope, the flawed yew stave, and the bowstring you took from the other hunter. His violence, you think, will now give you life. The work is slow and agonizing. Your hands are weak, but your purpose is a fire in your belly. You retrieve the bow, examining the fracture. It is a flaw, but perhaps not a fatal one if you do not ask too much of the wood. With your flint knife, you painstakingly carve the deep, smooth notches at either end of the stave. Then you take the sinew bowstring. It is cold and stiff. You work it with your hands, rubbing it with a small piece of rendered fat from the hair to make it supple, your movements patient and methodical. The moment of truth arrives. You place one end of the bow on the ground and, using your body's weight, carefully loop the string into the notch. You pull. The bow bends, the wood groaning in protest. You feel the faint memory of the crack, the flaw in its heart. But this time, it holds. You now have a weapon, a flawed, fragile, but functional weapon. The hunt is a battle of patience. You are too weak for a long stalk or a chase. You must let the prey come to you. You find a high ridge overlooking a wind-swept slope where the snow is thinner, a place where ibex might come to scrape for the frozen lichen beneath. You settle yourself behind a cluster of rocks, becoming just another stone in the great, silent landscape. The cold is your companion, the silence your cloak. Hours pass. The sun crawls across the sky. Your world shrinks to the snow-swept slope below, and the steady, quiet rhythm of your own breathing. Then you see it, a movement, a lone male ibex, its magnificent, curved horns, a dark slash against the white snow, picks its way onto the slope. It is a vision of life, of strength. It is your survival. You move with an almost unbearable slowness. You ready an arrow. You have only one good arm to draw the string. As you pull it back, the muscles in your wounded shoulder scream in protest. A wave of blackness swims at the edge of your vision. But you hold. You take a breath, steadying your aim. You remember the teachings of your father. Become the arrow. You breathe out, and you release. The arrow is a silent, fleeting shadow against the snow. It flies true. The ibex leaps, stumbles, and falls. You stand over the fallen animal. Its lifeblood a stark, beautiful red against the white. You place a hand on its still warm flank and give thanks to its spirit for this gift. The mountain has tested you with storm, with hunger, with sickness, and with conflict, and you have endured. You now have meat. You have fat. You have hide and sinew. You have strength. You have a path forward. For the first time in an eternity, you are not just a survivor. You are a hunter again. For 2 days, you do not travel. You remain in your sheltered camp on the lee side of the summit, a place that is no longer a prison but a sanctuary. Here, you perform the sacred rituals of renewal. The ibex, the gift of the mountain, is the center of your world. You work with the methodical precision of a man whose life depends on his craft. The meat is butchered, some of it roasted over your fire for immediate, life-giving strength. The rest smoked slowly on a frame of green branches, preserving it for the journey to come. The hide is scraped clean, a valuable prize for warmth and repair. Nothing is wasted. You feast. The rich, fatty meat is a potent medicine, a balm for a body and soul pushed to their absolute limits. Strength, a long-forgotten friend, flows back into your limbs. The hollow ache in your bones, a companion for so many weeks, is finally replaced by a deep, solid warmth that radiates from your very core. You sleep, long and deep, your rest untroubled by the ghosts of hunger or the howl of the storm. You are remaking yourself, piece by piece. On the third morning, with your pack full of smoked meat and your body renewed, you begin the slow descent. Each step down is an affirmation of life, a deliberate stride away from the white wilderness of the peaks. The world begins to return to you in small, miraculous details. The journey down the upper slopes is treacherous. The snow, hard and wind-scoured at the peak, gives way to a deep, soft powder that saps your strength. But soon, the snow cover begins to thin, and you see them, dark patches of frozen brown earth. The true ground. You press your palm flat against a patch free of snow. The rough, solid texture a miracle against your skin. Then, you hear it. A sound you have not heard in what feels like an eternity. A sound more beautiful than any song. The gentle, musical trickle of running water. A small stream flowing from under a great sheet of ice, defiant against the cold. You kneel and cup the water in your hands. It is so cold it makes your teeth ache, but it is the sweet, clear taste of life itself. You cross the invisible line, the altitude where life can once again take hold. You see the first of the stunted, high-altitude pines, their branches permanently bent into gnarled shapes by the wind. As you descend further, they grow taller, straighter, forming a sparse woodland. You are re-entering the world of the living. The oppressive, absolute silence of the peaks is slowly replaced by the soft whisper of the wind through pine needles. You hear the sharp, scolding chatter of a squirrel from a high branch, and you stop, a slow, genuine smile spreading across your face. The world is alive again, and it welcomes you. The final day of your journey is a slow, steady walk through the deepening forest. The air is warmer here, thick with the rich, earthy scent of pine needles and damp moss. The harsh, blinding glare of the snow is gone, replaced by the soft, dappled light filtering through the high canopy. You have returned from a world of only white and grey to one of deep greens and browns. You make your camp that night under the protective, sprawling arms of a great ancient pine. A proper, generous fire burns, its smoke rising straight into the clear, cold sky in a gesture of peace. You look back, through a gap in the trees, and see the immense, moonlit peaks where you were imprisoned. They are just mountains now, a place of silent, terrible beauty. Their power no longer a threat but a memory. You have faced the great white silence and the roaring of the storm. You have faced hunger, sickness, and the desperate violence of another man. And you have endured. You have come down from the mountain. You are alive. And so, the hunter's ordeal ends, not with a roar, but with a quiet return to the world of the living. He has faced the great, roaring silence of the peaks, and has earned the peace of the warm, green valley. Your own world can now fall silent too. Let the vast, empty landscapes of the ancient past recede. Let the feeling of the biting wind and the crunch of snow underfoot dissolve into the comfort of where you are now. The long struggle is over, and the only journey left is a gentle drift into your dreams. If this story from the Copper Age helped quiet your mind tonight, a simple like is always a wonderful gesture. And if you wish to be my companion on future travels through time, please subscribe to Sleepy History Studio. Thank you for braving the cold with me. May your night be peaceful and your rest complete. Until next time, sleep well.